I used to think the gym was a safe word. You know, I'm going to the gym is unassailable, the conversational equivalent of flossing. Who argues with kale and kettlebells? My name's Mark. I'm 33, a project manager for a commercial electrical contractor in Denver. I spend my days scheduling crews and solving problems in half-finished buildings that smell like drywall dust and optimism. My wife, Tessa, is 31, a UX designer who talks lovingly about users and hates the word moist. We met in a coffee shop on Colfax because she was critiquing the app I was using to order a cappuccino. Why is the checkout button gray? Gray screams disabled state, not by me. I married her because she was funny and stubborn and made every space she touched more intentional. Even our junk drawer had categories and labels. We were married 4 years when she decided to get serious about fitness again. She said it like she was picking up a language she used to speak. She'd been a club soccer player in high school, belonged to a campus gym in college, old muscles waiting to be woken up. She chose a mid-range place on her commute, Iron District, the kind of chain with eucalyptus towels and a lobby that tries to look like a boutique hotel. I need this, she told me. My brain feels sticky. My brain feels sticky. So go unstick it, I said, and meant it. I liked that she had something that was just hers. I didn't want to be one of those husbands who sulked because his wife had interests outside of him. At first, it was cute. She came home glowing, hair damped from a shower that smelled expensive, rambling about hip mobility and a trainer named Z. Just Z, she said when I asked if that was a nickname. He's the head coach for the power program. He swears I'm built for deadlifts. I did not love that last sentence, but I tucked it away with other harmless facts. Weeks in, the workouts branched. Spin on Tuesdays, upper power on Wednesdays, mobility flow Fridays, conditioning Saturdays. Oh, and I'm going to try a Sunday boot camp. It's a community thing. The gym became nouns and verbs at our dinner table. She ate more salmon, fewer tortillas, ordered creatine like it was moisturizer. I work out too. My job doesn't require a six-pack, but hauling conduit up 3 flights in July will punish you if you slack. So I asked the obvious thing. Want to live together on Thursdays? I can go to Iron District with you, get a day pass. She put down her fork like I'd said something crude. Babe, the gym is my alone time. You have rec league basketball, you have poker night. This is my thing. Totally, I said, and it was totally fine. People need separate corners of the house to breathe. Except her alone time kept growing teeth. She started leaving earlier. I'm catching the 6 a.m. class before work. She started staying out later. Z added a second conditioning block at 7. It's new. She stopped answering texts during workouts. Phones stay in the locker room. She added a canvas tote that looked like a farmer's market bag, except instead of kale, it held resistance bands and 2 pairs of shoes. She had a separate set of shampoo and skincare in a pouch with a gold zipper. She started shaving every day, everywhere, which is not a crime, but it is a pattern. There were receipts for a waxing studio in Cherry Creek. She'd always done that herself. And there were Uber charges from downtown on nights she was supposedly at Spin in Park Hill. If you're rolling your eyes, I deserve it. Red flags don't look red up close. They look like little pink inconveniences you can explain if you're in love. The first crack came from Nate, a guy on my crew who also goes to Iron District. You joined yet? He asked, wiping his forehead with a sleeve in a half-built office on York. They're pushing this couple's discount. Sierra, my girlfriend, wants us to do it. Iron District? I said, too casual. Tessa's there. She says it's great. Cool, he said. Which one's she at? Reno? Cap Hill? I'm mostly at Reno evenings. He took a drink. Weird. I never see her. What's she look like? I showed him a wedding pic. He squinted. Nope. Maybe she hits Cap Hill. She says Reno for Spin, I said, heart doing a thing I hate. Tuesdays, 6. Spin at Reno is at 5 and 7, Nate said. And Sierra says the 7's always packed. Line out the door. If your wife's there, they must be hiding her under the bikes. We laughed. We moved a scissor lift. I stacked the comment with the others and did not think about it for 3 days, except of course I did. On Friday, I was home by 4, rare for me. I took the dog out, then sat on the couch and stared at nothing until Tessa's Apple Calendar pinged. It lives on the shared family plan because we're that couple. Mobility Flow, Iron District Cap Hill, 5006,015. She kissed me on the forehead at 4035 and left with a different perfume. At 5020, I drove to Iron District Cap Hill. I didn't plan to go inside. I told myself I'd just drive past, see bikes through a window, confirm the vibe. What I found was a "We'll be right back" sign hanging at the desk and a young woman in an orange polo arguing with a delivery guy about a missing box of shaker bottles. Mobility Flow? I asked, like I belonged. She smiled the way customer service people smile when they are 2 seconds from crying. We had to cancel. Instructor got an offender bender. We sent a push notification. Right, I said, nodding like I knew what those words meant. So the 5 o'clock didn't happen. Nope. Next is at 6:30 if we find a sub. I thanked her and walked to my truck without feeling my legs. The dog's hair on the passenger seat looked like evidence. Half a block away, I sat with the engine off and watched the door. No Tessa, no familiar ponytail, no anything. At 6004, I texted, "Hope the stretch class is good. Want me to start dinner?" She didn't answer. At 7001, she texted, "Running late. I'm so sweaty. Start the rice?" A heart emoji followed by a droplet emoji I hated. I worked hard to deserve her. That's the sentence I kept thinking while I measured jasmine rice with steady hands. I worked so hard to deserve her, and here I was stirring a pot like a lab rat. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I went to bed early and dreamed about a parking garage with no exit. Saturday morning, I carried on like a sane person until she left for conditioning. Then I did something I hadn't done since I was 21 and terrified of being cheated on. I opened the Chase app and looked at transactions like a middle-aged detective in sweatpants. There it was. Pioneer Parking Union Station, $14 R. Friday, 4008 p.m. Iron District Cap Hill has street parking and a lot. Union Station is down by the hotels, far from Mobility Flow. I stared, then I scrolled. 2 weeks earlier, Hotel Indigo Kachina Cantina, $72.13. And, because apparently God writes screenplays, Lyft 1892 from Lohi to Stapleton. Another gym night. I didn't want to stalk her. I didn't want to put an AirTag in her tote or follow her like a boy who watches too many YouTube channels with the words prank and loyalty test. But I also didn't want to be a man who slept next to a lie. Somewhere between those two men is a third, the one I tried to be. I made a plan that felt adult, asked to join her for a class, not as a test, as support. See what happens. Saturday night, she came home smelling like eucalyptus and steak. Z says I'm in the top 5% of women he trains, she said, a kid showing off a gold star. Let me come sometime, I said. Her smile thinned like I'd tugged it. Mark. What? I'll do my own thing. You can show me how to not round my back on deadlifts. I'll embarrass myself on the assault bike. We'll get tacos after. She turned off the faucet too hard, metal clashing porcelain. You're turning my thing into a date. It can be both, I said. Then shut up, because her eyes were glassy and I felt cruel. Forget it. I just miss you. That's all. She exhaled. I'm sorry. She stepped forward and pressed her forehead to my chest. I'm so tired, babe. Me too, I said, and we stood like that, two people keeping a third person afloat. On Monday, I drove to a job site at 6 a.m. and spent the morning in meetings that felt like trying to knit mud. Around lunch, my phone buzzed, a text from Sierra whom I barely know. Hey, This is weird, but do you have a sec? Sure, I typed. Nate told me you asked about spin. I don't want to stir stuff, but if Tessa says she's at Reno 7 p.m. classes, she's not. I'm there. Every week. We chat with the same people. She's not in those rooms. I stared at the screen until letters slid. Why tell me? Because I once dated a guy who used the gym as an alibi. It sucked. I'm not saying that's what's happening. But I also don't want to be the person who says nothing and then watches someone get blindsided on Facebook when a "we're separating" post drops. Thanks, I wrote, fingers cold. For real. That night, Tessa said she was going to open gym to practice form. I cut vegetables like someone in a cooking video about knife safety. I do not remember what we ate. At 8,010, while she was supposedly finishing her last set, my phone rang. Unknown number. I don't answer unknowns, but something in my ribs made me swipe. Is this Mark? A male voice asked. Who's this? Colin, he said. Don't hang up. It's going to sound insane. Are you married to Tessa? I said yes. The word vibrated. I'm engaged to a woman named Laurel, he said, like reading off a police report. Her phone is on our shared plan. I saw messages. He swallowed, loud in my ear. Between your wife and my fiancé. There is a point where your body starts to laugh without you. It isn't humor. It's a protective reflex. What messages? I asked, my voice doing a B-movie impression of calm. Photos. Hotel confirmations. Can't wait to feel sore for you, that kind of thing. He sucked in air. Laurel said she met Tessa at a work conference last year. They've been meeting after work, using the gym as a cover. I don't know you. I don't want drama. I thought you should know. Why would you? I stopped. There are several answers to that question and none of them matter. I can send screenshots. I nodded, then remembered he couldn't see. Yeah. He texted them within a minute. Laurel's name at the top of a thread with Tessa under it. A heart-shaped mirror selfie in a hotel bathroom I recognized. An Uber receipt icon. A photo of Tessa's ankle in a white sheet with a caption I will not repeat. A calendar entry for Mobility Plus margaritas, like a joke for neutrals. I didn't cry. My chest hollowed, but tears felt like an indulgence, like something you do when a movie tells you to. Instead, I felt cold, and then very tired, and then like someone had set down a heavy bag I didn't know I'd been carrying. Tessa came home at 9. She kissed me and went straight to the shower. I waited at the kitchen table while the dog watched me pick at a placemat. I pictured her in the water, washing off other people's skin. When she came out, she wore the gray robe I bought her for our 2nd anniversary. Hey, she said, casual as a sitcom, and I held up my phone. She stared at the screenshots. Then she did precisely what a guilty person does when they think they are clever. She smiled, like I was an idiot. These are from Laurel, she said, too fast. She and I have been working on a surprise for Colin. It's a stupid thing, like a boudoir shoot, except fitness-themed? It's so dumb. We were planning it. That's why there are photos. I didn't tell you because it's a surprise. She squeezed my forearm. You're shaking. Because you're lying, I said, and she laughed, then realized I wasn't performing with her. Mark, she said softly, and then, I can explain. You can, I said, just not in the way you think. She looked toward the fridge, a reflex. When she's cornered, she opens the door and stares at yogurts, like dairy is a therapist. She didn't do it this time. She sat. Okay. Friday, I said. Mobility class was canceled. You parked at Union Station. You ate at Hotel Indigo. You took a lift from Lougheed to Stapleton. She blinked. You check our card like you're my dad? I check our card because it's our money. And because I'm a person who cooks you dinner while you tell me you're stretching your hips. She opened her mouth, closed it. I needed a place to shower, she said. After the gym. The Indigo has good water pressure. Laurel and I went to Kachina because we were hungry. You needed a hotel shower? I asked. And an Uber from a neighborhood nowhere near your gym to the suburbs where your imaginary yoga teacher lives? Don't say imaginary, she snapped, reflex. That's manipulative. You're right, I said. What's manipulative is using the gym as a shield because you know I won't question it. What's manipulative is turning your independence into a moat I'm not allowed to cross. Wow, she said. Congratulations on the metaphors. Did you practice that on the dog? I took a breath because Hannah, my therapist, taught me to sit on the bomb. I talked to Colin, I said. Her eyes flashed. You did what? He called me, I said, and her mouth became a white line. He sent me messages. From Laurel. Who sent you hotel rooms and heart emojis and... Stop, she said, too loud. The dog startled. You are humiliating me. You humiliated yourself, I said, and the voice that came out of me sounded like someone else. Where were you tonight? At the gym, she said, automatic. Which class? I asked. Open gym, she said. Z was there. I stood. Pack a bag, I said calmly. You're going to your sister's. She laughed, a sharp sound. You're kicking me out? I'm asking you to leave, I said. I'm asking you to create a little space so I can decide if the person you've become is someone I can be married to. I've always been this person, she said, and something in me broke in a way that didn't shatter. It just rearranged. She left angry, then apologetic, then angry again. She cried in the doorway and asked me if this is what I wanted. She stood in the driveway, texting me from 3 feet away, I love you, please, please. When she finally drove off, the house made a noise I'd never heard, a sigh through the vents like a whole organism easing. The next morning, I called Hannah and said, I need an emergency session. She said that wasn't a thing unless I was a danger to myself or others. I said I felt like a man with the wrong person's furniture in his brain. She found me a spot at 3. I also texted Colin. Hey, thank you for the screenshots. I told Tessa to go to her sister's. I'm not going to blow up Laurel's life. That's your house to clean. He wrote back, appreciate it. She's moving out. I'm shattered. If you ever want to sit somewhere and stare at a wall, I know a wall. I took half a day and stared at Hannah's wall instead. We talked about betrayal scripts, about the way people tell themselves stories to make the world bearable. What story were you telling? She asked. That the gym was a temple, I said. That self-improvement is inherently moral. And what was she telling? That her needs justify her secrets, I said, and my throat closed because I had loved that need in her, and it felt like a crime to say it out loud. I didn't go through her phone. I didn't hack her Instagram. I didn't plant a device in her tote. I did, however, call Iron District and ask about membership records because I had the moral clarity of a man who can breathe in his own kitchen. The manager, a cheerful guy named Dante who sounded 22, said they couldn't divulge member history. Privacy, he chirped. Cool, I said. Hypothetically, if my wife thinks she checked in last Friday at 5, could she have, even if the mobility class was canceled? We still had open floor, he said, but she didn't check in. You can see that, I said, and he paused, then said, hypothetically? Yeah, check-ins are automatic with the app. Hypothetically, has she checked in any time after 6 p.m. in the last month? I asked, feeling like a villain in a procedural. He sighed. Man. Hypothetically, twice. I thanked him for the hypotheticals and hung up. I sat in the truck until my forehead cooled. Tessa came back the next day for a talk. She looked gray around the eyes, a detail that would have broken me a week earlier and now just made me tired. She sat on the couch and said, I'm sorry, like an actor reading stage directions. For what? I asked. For lying, she said quickly. Then, for hurting you, like that part had been prompted. Why? I asked, and she shrugged, which is a nothing and everything answer. I felt stuck, she said. I felt like my life was this straight hallway with no doors. Laurel made me feel seen. Because she wanted you, I said. Because she listened, she said, a child's indignation. Because she gets it. She has a person who needs things from her all the time too, and she hates it sometimes. Her person is her fiancé, I said. Mine is my wife. She stared at our rug. You've never cheated, she said, a statement that also sounded like a question. No, I said. I'm boring. I waited. Is it only Laurel? Her pause was almost nothing, but it was there, a hiccup in a song. Yes. Don't do that, I said softly. Don't add a new lie to make the old one feel smaller. She looked up with a brightness I used to call design brain and now recognized as spin brain. Okay, she said. Once. With someone from the gym. It was dumb. It didn't mean anything. It was months ago. Z, I said, because I am not a stupid man. And she looked away like the light hurt. I think I wanted to feel like my body was mine, she said. After marriage. After everything. You know? I don't, I said. Explain it like I'm 5. When women talk about being theirs again, guys think it's about sex, she said. Sometimes it's about not being asked for anything. For an hour. No dinner, no questions, no future talk. Just sweat and silence. You could have said that, I said. I did, she said, heat rising. I said the gym was my space, and you turned it into a date. You try to fix everything. You try to make every discomfort go away. Sometimes I want to sit with it. You sat with someone else, I said. She cried, and it looked like it hurt. Do you want me to move out? She asked. Like, for good. I don't know, I said, which was the only true thing. Let's separate for a month. Therapy twice a week. No more gym alibis, radical honesty. She nodded like a student. Okay. It lasted 6 days. On day 7, her sister called to say Tessa never came home. On day 8, I received an email from a hotel in Union Station thanking me for a wonderful stay. On day 9, I ran into Laurel at a coffee shop because life likes to do theater. She looked like someone who had been underwater. We stared at each other and made our faces neutral for the barista, then sat at a back table and whispered like teenagers in church. I thought I would feel relief when I ruined my life, she said, stirring a coffee she wouldn't drink. Turns out it just feels like ruining. I told her I was sorry and meant it. I asked if she was okay. She said no. We sat for a long time with our cups cooling. We were the saddest support group in Denver. I filed for legal separation the next week. The paper slid across an oak table and sounded like an airplane landing. In therapy, I cried for the first time in my adult life in a way that felt clean. I told Hannah that I had been holding my breath for a year. She said, then exhale, and then decide. 2 months later, I filed for divorce. There are sentences you think you'll never write. There are mornings you wake up and you are a man who has signed them. I wish I could tell you that the day I signed, I felt triumphant, a hero stepping out of wreckage. But mostly, I felt like I had failed at a promise I believe in. Here's what I did right. I didn't beg. I didn't explode. I didn't vandalize anything. I canceled the couple's massage we were never going to take. I bought a better pillow. I took the dog to the off-leash park and threw a tennis ball until my shoulder burned. I told my mother the truth in one clean paragraph and refused to explain it to anyone in more than 2. I learned to cook rice without hating myself. I lowered my expectations of closure to the floor and walked around them. Here's what I did wrong. I reread our old texts at 1 a.m. I drove past Iron District twice just to see if the red neon felt different. I used Laurel's face to imagine Tessa's. I made myself a movie where I was noble and she was a villain, then hated the movie for being cruel. Tessa tried to come back once. 3 months after papers, she showed up with a soft voice and said, "I miss you." I believe she did. I also believe she missed the version of me that made her life simple. She cried in our kitchen and said she felt empty. She asked if I could forgive her, if she did everything right. And my answer was not a speech about trust. It was 3 words I practiced in therapy. I don't know. She slept on the couch that night. In the morning, she left. We didn't kiss. We are very modern and very broken. If you're waiting for the twist where I torch the gym and swear off fitness forever, sorry. I actually joined Iron District 2 weeks after the split because I needed somewhere to put my hands. I go in the mornings with Nate. We don't talk much. We deadlift and then sit on the curb and watch the sun bounce off windows 60 floors above us. Sometimes I see Z across the room. He looks like every Z you've ever imagined. Sometimes I see Laurel. We nod. We never speak. There's a quiet, brutal kindness in that. Here is the thing I couldn't see when it was happening. The gym wasn't the sin. The lie was. The gym was just a clean place to set it down. Self-improvement isn't inherently moral. It's just something you can wear while you do whatever you are going to do anyway. I used to blame the alibi. Now, on good days, I blame the story we both accepted. She told herself the gym made her better. I told myself the gym made her safe. We were both wrong. Better and safe are not the same thing. What would I tell you if you were me 6 months ago? Don't follow her car. That's a movie. Pay attention to your shared calendar. That's a marriage. When the facts don't line up with the little story you use to fall asleep, stop trying to rewrite the facts. Change the story. Ask straight questions. Listen to the exact words you're given. I need space is not, I need a permission slip to have a second life. The gym is my thing is not, you aren't allowed to know me there. The other thing no one tells you is that your world does not end. It shifts, it creaks and yawns, and then it finds new weight. On Tuesdays, I go to the rec center and shoot around with guys I've known since I had hair. On Sundays, I make pancakes and call my dad. On Thursdays, I do nothing on purpose. I didn't die. I just changed. She did too. That's the worst and the best part. A few weeks ago, I ran into Tessa outside a grocery store. She had a gold ring on a chain, not her wedding band. Something new. She looked older in a way that wasn't bad. We did that stiff hug people do when their bodies remember something their minds have cataloged. We asked how each other's families were. She told me she stopped seeing Laurel months ago. It wasn't what I thought, she said, like a line from a neutral drama. Nothing ever is, I said, because my mouth sometimes steals from books. Before we parted, she squeezed my arm and said, "You were a good husband." I tell you this not because I need the compliment. It sits badly. But because it was true in a narrow way. I was a good husband for who she was before she wanted something else. That truth has teeth. It also lets me sleep. I still lift. I still hate burpees. I still leave my phone in the locker room, but only because there's nowhere else to put it. Some mornings, between sets, I look at all these bodies trying to become. And I think we want so badly to be a version of ourselves we can love. Sometimes we burn the wrong things to get there. If you are okay reading advice from a guy who is still learning to breathe, here's mine. Find a partner who can say, "I want to be different," without making you a casualty of it. And be the partner who can hear that sentence without needing to make a spreadsheet. That's all love is, most days. Staying curious without making the other person your problem to solve. The gym is no longer a holy word in my house. It's just a place with loud music and terrible lighting where I watch myself lift something I couldn't lift last week. That's enough religion for now. What do you think about this story? Did Mark handle it right? Or would you have confronted way earlier? Drop your take in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more true way to a life betrayals and messy red flags.